Good morning, everybody. So this is Lily Sisonbite. Welcome to the second part of the video on how do we organize a virtual workshop. The first one focused on technical aspects of the workshop, and we discussed the number of participants, around 20, 25 people to make it interactive, and other aspects of it. So this one is about how do we engage virtually with people who are in the plenary room, if we can call it like this. First thing is that the camera has to be open. It's very hard to engage with others if they don't put their camera on. I've just finished a workshop where most of the people the first day had the camera off and I was using a PowerPoint, so it was deaf by PowerPoint. So you really want to create the conditions where you can look into the other people's eyes and they can look into yours, and that you are framed close enough so that you can see that, but also allow some space here to read the body language. I think it has to be a must that other people also open their camera, not only you as the presenter or the facilitator. That's the first thing. The second thing is engagement is not about gimmicks. It's not about, you do polling, you do word clouds, you do some other fun stuff. It's really about engagement. It's really about people and connecting with them when you are in the workshop. So sometimes it helps, and then if you use polling or you use word clouds, it really has to be related to the objective of the workshop. The workshop is not, how you say that, a series of engagement of small stuff to keep them awake. No. You have things that you want to accomplish during the workshop. So it can be that you want an action plan to be done. You want an alignment on an objective. You want people to do things. You want the whole group to do things, or you just want to make connection. In which case, all of these things that are available to us participate to your objective of getting the group to do something. The third thing would be for the facilitator, the trainer, to create a container for people to feel safe to contribute. I once had a comment from one of my colleagues who say, well, we're professional enough. If we want to contribute, we have something to say, we're going to say it. No, it doesn't work like this. If you have a manager or a director, vice president, even if you have something to say, if the environment is not safe for you to contribute, especially if you're in junior position, you're consultant, you're not going to contribute. So it's really also a duty for someone who is in a position of authority to allow the participation to happen and be listening. Not cut. There are a lot of things that undermines trust, so that people are self-censoring themselves and not participating. It might be that silence sometimes allows people to participate. Sometimes silence is really intimidating, so people will not participate. It might be also that because you are, Asian like me or women, people box you, and then people have perception of who you are, and they say things that box you. So then you're not going to participate. I give an example. I was in a conference where a participant said, well, all these blonde women who are white are wearing black. I'm sorry, you're boxing them. And it's not because you're saying something to someone who is white that doesn't make you a racist. It was a racist comment that this person made. Being careful about how do we perceive people, how do we put people in the boxes, it's really important. So it's about psychological safety. Do I feel safe enough to contribute, to say what I think? Do I feel confident that the group will understand what I say, or if they don't understand, they will acknowledge what I say, and they might build on it. So the facilitator has to put some guardrails. If you're listening to Brené Brown. She's talking a lot about that, of making people safe, of putting limits about what is feasible, what is not feasible. A lot of workshops starts with rules of engagement. The group agrees on some basic rules that we're not going to splash water to each other, that everything that we be said in the meeting will remain confidential, and allow people to be vulnerable. Often the facilitator is the person who set the tone. If I disclose what I think, I'm a little bit more personal. The other person would be much more personal and say things. So there are a level of engagement. So if you start a meeting, you're not going to ask people, how are things going in their life. They might not want to talk about that. So you will start with something much more technical, much more, ordinary, how is the weather on the part of your world? And then they say, oh yeah, the weather is not too bad, it's very hot, or how is COVID situation? And people will give what they want to give, right? If you talk about how is COVID situation in your place, they may say, oh, well, the cases are rising, or they may disclose that actually someone in their family had COVID and it's really disrupting and they're in a lot of suffering. So yeah, as a facilitator, you really have to build this gradual intensity and allow people to be much more vulnerable. In psychology, there are a lot of studies happening around that there are ways to build this closeness with people. I don't know if you're familiar with these 36 questions to make people who don't know each other fall in love. That's really this scalable. So it is possible to build relationship in a virtual world. The way we cultivate salad on water and hydroponic vegetables, and we can have hydroponic connection. So even if you are not in the same room, you still can be a connection with the people. So that means that when you build the workshop, you really have to allow space for people to engage. You just cannot come in a workshop and go on the technical things, on the things that we need to do. And a lot of our meetings are like this, right? We come and then there is no hello, goodbye, nothing, not the chat that's happening in the lobby if you were physically together. People jump on the topic, and then when it's finished at the top of the hour, you say, okay, goodbye. There is nothing, that allows connection. So you have to be much more intentional about connecting with the others, about building spaces for discussion, building spaces for breakout rooms. So maybe in a group of 25, you're much more, reluctant to speak. But if you use the breakout functions that are offered on Zoom or on Teams and on WebEx, you can make smaller groups. You can have one-on-one, you can have a triad, you have a group of 5. And I've attended training of 5-7 hours where we were really in a small group of 4 or 5 people for 1.5 hours or for 3 hours. So you can get work done, but you have to be at that space. The other things that you can do for engagement is the first thing that people who are not looking at the chemical stuff that happen with people in the virtual room is that they will ask people to raise hand. But if you're 25, you don't have to raise hand, right? You just leave an open mic. Whoever wants to speak, we speak. They will wait for someone else to speak. You have to allow also some silence to build in, some more intensity to come in, and or you can be much more interventionist and say, okay, what about you? Or you do a round robin and you just do around the table, around the scale. We say that to ask people to intervene. So that's That's all the thing. It's really like we are in the same room with each other. We all try to be seen, to be heard, to be acknowledged. So what is it that you are doing as a facilitator or a project manager to feel, to get people to that they feel safe to engage with you and to contribute what is it that they're saying? There are some really cool stuff that you can use where people can stay anonymous the way we use Post-it. I don't go for the super sophisticated tools, Miro, all this kind of stuff. I just go for the cheap, free tools that are available on Google, like Jamboard. Jamboard is it's like a whiteboard. People can contribute with Post-it, with notes, and it's totally anonymous. So if you have a boss and someone who is junior in the team, they still can share what they think. I also use slides, Google Slides. People can write. We can all contribute our ideas around what are the constraints to implementing this project. Or I will use Excel sheet. It's called Sheets, I think. So it's really nice. And then one thing that I've discovered, and that's great for connection, is called WonderMe. It's a virtual lounge. The problem is that it's not integrated with Teams or with WebEx or with Zoom. So you have to leave Zoom first to go to the virtual lounge because they need the camera to do that and the microphone. So it's really like bubbles like this, and you can go from one bubble to another one. So it's free until the end of 2021. After that, we don't know. So that's a great way to connect. And then if you see tension happening during the virtual workshop, one good thing to do is just to get the group on the balcony and say, okay, I'm observing this. What's happening? What's happening in this exchange here? So that the group, is much more conscious of the dynamic in the team, can manage better. So getting on the balcony is a good thing. And then at the end of every day that I do a workshop, I do always a debrief. I'm asking, so I told in my first video, don't run a workshop on your own, do it with someone so that you can get feedback on how you're doing, feedback on the conflict that I haven't seen or tension I haven't seen, then my co-facilitator will see that. And if you have really made a blunder, engage offline, call the person, connect with them, and then try to understand. So nothing prevents you from, getting out of the frame of the Zoom or of the Teams or WebEx to connect with people. So in summary, my advice really, if you want to connect with people during a workshop, is really forget about the gimmicks, forget about the stuff, okay, whether you use polling and surveys and stuff. Connect with people, allow the space to do that. That's it for today, and then I talk to you next week. Bye.